Welcome to the best of first-person episodes from Phantoms and Monsters. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads.
My experiences with gnomes. When I was about 10 years old, I went on a drive with my parents into the English countryside to a place called Camberley in Surrey. We were going to lunch with Mum's longtime friend Jill and husband Harry, and we met them on the way at a country pub for pre-lunch drinks. As children, my brother and I were allowed to go around to the back garden, and we sipped lemonade and ate crisps. Then the adults brought their drinks outside. The garden of this pub had a row of handmade miniature houses at the bottom of the garden. Each one had its own pathway, gate and door. I wandered over to take a closer look, and to my utmost surprise, the doors of these tiny houses opened and a small gnome exited from each one, and came to talk to me. One, in a red hat, was leaning on his garden rake chattering away. I can't remember what they spoke to me about, but the vision of them has never left me. Of course, when I walked back to tell my parents, I just received a pat on the head, and my mum said, "That's nice, dear." I had another experience when I came to Australia in the early 1980s. My partner and I visited a tea room during winter in the mountains. They had a lovely garden, but no flowers were out anywhere, and the wind was quite cold. All of a sudden, I saw a small gnome with my inner vision, and he started talking to me. "Let me show you my flowers I look after," he said. Again, looking around, I could see only stalks and bare rose bushes. Anyway, I followed him along a pathway, and then he turned a corner. There, just around the bed, was a small bush with beautiful white perfumed flowers on, and no other flowers in sight. He was very proud of his flowers and bush, and thanked me for allowing him to show me. We also had a gnome called Tom in our backyard in Sydney, who used to pop up now and again giving suggestions to help different plants. So, that is my experiences with gnomes, and they are just gorgeous. Trudy.
Possible witch or elf encountered by Swiss soldier. This happened while I was doing my army service in Switzerland in the Alps. I am not allowed to talk about what we were doing, but I'll try to keep things clear. My company had installed a huge antenna, and it had to be guarded by 2 soldiers day and night. We were on the top of a hill, far away from any city and near a huge forest. It was 1800, and I had just started my watch of 6 hours with another soldier. Everything went fine. We smoked cigarettes and kept ourselves occupied until our watch ended at midnight. Then, we received a call from our superior, and he told us that one of the soldiers that was supposed to take the watch couldn't come, and one of us had to stay for another watch of 6 hours. We tossed a coin to know who will stay from midnight to 6 in the morning, with temperatures of -20 degrees. Of course I lost, and I had to wait for the other soldier to come and join me for the night watch. They sent another soldier, but not the best, because I knew he would sleep all night when I saw him climbing the hill with his sleeping bag. And that's what he did. He immediately took place in the tent and fell asleep. It was the coldest and longest night of my life, but nothing special about it. The weird part happened in the morning. We received another call from our superior, and he told us that we had an NBC exercise. It means that we have to wear all day long our anti-chemical suit. I don't know the English word for it, the one with gas mask and everything that goes with it. I was really upset and exhausted because I wasn't able to sleep with that thing on, and sleep was my only reward for that 12-hour watch. Well, I got out of the tent, and this is where I saw something that still scares me to this day. There was a woman standing next to the antenna, and she wasn't moving. She was just standing there, 5 meters from the tent. I couldn't see her face because of the sun starting to rise behind her. I knew she was a woman because she had really long hair and she had curves. Remember that we were in the middle of nowhere, and this lady was standing there, not moving, like she was frozen. I started to freak out, and I called the other guy to show him what I was looking at. I don't know why, but he wasn't scared at all, and he told her to leave because she wasn't allowed there. But she didn't make a move. She just stood there looking at us, or at least in our direction. I was so confused how women could ignore 2 soldiers telling her to leave a forbidden area. I mean, we are in Switzerland. The army is not that impressive, I know, but people usually don't do this kind of things. They would just move away, especially when it's 6 in the morning. And what was she doing in the middle of nowhere? Obviously not dressed for this cold weather. How long was she standing there, and how did she end up here? I didn't hear any footsteps. So many questions went through my mind at that moment. The other soldier didn't think twice and started walking towards her. When he almost reached her, she started running very fast. She ran directly into the forest. I saw her getting deep down in the forest and she disappeared from our sight. I'm really a rational thinker. I question everything and think that there is always an explanation. For me, the explanation is that she was simply a jogger because of the way she ran to the forest. But almost 3 minutes had passed between the first time I saw her and the moment she started running away. 3 minutes of not moving at all, looking at me, dressed with something really tight with -20 degrees, and in the middle of nowhere. Thank God there was someone with me because nobody would have believed me. IZ.
Bigfoot carries injured man home in Smyth County, Virginia. I've got a story that may be hard to believe, but I avow to you that it is completely true. I have lived on the same property in Smyth County, Virginia all my 68 years, and I have seen a lot of strange things, though I believe all were natural. But there is one thing in my woods that I have never been able to explain. The first time I saw it, I was 16 or so and squirrel hunting in the late afternoon. I was sitting on a large rock watching a den hole in a large hickory tree when I noticed a hairy man running in the hollow below me. It was covered top to bottom with short reddish-brown hair. The hair on its head and face was very long. I think it was around 6 feet tall. It made a hell of a racket moving through brush, crashing branches and grunting up a storm. It then turned around and did the same thing on its way back. I stood up and quickly made my way home. I never said anything to my folks about what I saw. That's the last I had seen of this thing until this past October. I was dragging old tree branches down into the woods when I stumbled on a tree. I twisted my knee badly and couldn't stand on it. I lay on the ground in pain, trying to figure out what I was going to do. Then, all of a sudden, I wake up on the porch bench. It's totally dark. I reach over and turn on the porch light. How did I get here? Then I noticed mud on my clothes and mud on the porch floor. There was also a pile of hand-sized creek pebbles on the porch table. I had seen these piles of pebbles throughout the woods for as long as I could remember. That's when I realized that the hairy man in the woods must have brought me home. I wondered if it was the same hairy man I saw when I was a boy. That's the only explanation I can come up with. I don't have any neighbors since I'm living on the ridge. Maybe I'll see it again one day. F.
Possible Pukwudgie confronted in Maine woods. I was living in Fairfield, Maine on Cottage Street. Up the street from mine were some woods. I used to take my dog Morbid up there to burn some energy off. Her most favorite time to go up in the woods was when we'd just gotten a good snowstorm. Well, one time after a storm, Morbid came and woke me up. She always did this after a storm. It was around 2 or 3 a.m. So I got up and got dressed to take her up into the woods. My daughter had a friend staying with us, and she happened to be up and came along with us. We got up there and were walking on the trail to get to the tree line. As we were walking towards the trees, on both sides of the small trail is a swamp. I saw some moose prints that were really fresh, so I asked Victoria to hold my dog's leash because I wanted to check out the prints. Well, I took 3 steps onto the swamp ice and fell through waist deep. Vic was laughing hysterically as I was struggling to get out of the muck at the bottom of the swamp water. Anyways, I finally got myself out of it and continued on to the tree line. Now once you get into the woods, there a little side trail. I happened to see a gnarly looking tree down the little side trail that looked really cool with all that snow on it. I told Vic to stay there and be right back. Well, I took my dog Morbid with me, and as we approached the gnarly tree, my dog dead dogged me, and I hated that. So I turned to scold her when I saw that she was staring at this birch tree. Suddenly this thing stepped out from behind the tree, and it looked towards us, and I could feel it was just as surprised to see us as we were to see it. Now, it was completely black, had an oversized head, a swollen belly, but it had no fingers or eyes. It was way too wide to fit behind that skinny little birch tree, but it did. It was like it was communicating telepathically. Like when it turned towards us, it had no eyes, yet I knew that it was just as surprised as Morbid and I were. It was also like it was two-dimensional or something, because it looked like a cardboard cutout or something. After it disappeared behind that tree, suddenly the wind started to pick up, and a snownado began to chase us back to the main trail. It stopped the second both of us had all of our feet on the main trail. I tested this 2 more times, and each time I was chased back by a snownado. I immediately went home and drew what I saw step out from behind that tree, as well as took pics of the tree it stepped out from. CC.
This is Lon Strickler. If you like this program, it would help us if you would give it a thumbs up. Then subscribe and click the bell icon so you get notification when we upload new first-person encounters. We have many more to come very soon. And by the way, if you have a suggestion or an experience of your own, please leave a comment.